Hi, everybody. So my name's Jason. I'm an effects artist at DreamWorks. I worked in live-action visual effects for many years prior to DreamWorks, and absolutely none of the companies that I've worked for have really much to do with this particularly. They don't condone it. Just need to make that clear. So let's get started. So this is something that some of you may have seen before, but just as a primer, this is a little short that was released by Dove Beauty Products, of all people, that goes through sort of what an average model goes through to get prepped for a shoot. Anything that you see on magazines or billboards goes through this process, and she's already beautiful enough, but they give her like a giraffe neck. They go in and start enlarging the eyes, like anime eyes and whatever. So already, when I was entering the visual effects field, I was like, okay, well, this sort of thing happens in magazines, but as you could tell, that was a lot of work. I mean, that can't possibly be true for movies. I mean, that's just one image. Movies is 24 a second. Can't possibly be true, right? I was incorrect. This is a still from X-Men 3. Some of you may not actually recognize this still because this is what was actually in the movie. I'll go back and forth a couple times so you can get that, but this was moving. Like people actually went in and changed up, and this is one of the more extreme ones that I can actually prove happened. But it's a lot of work. This is from Benjamin Button. Both of these were from this company Lola VFX that specializes in this sort of thing. You can see by the number of versions ticking along, just the minute little changes that you can't really tell how much work goes into this. So these are the ones that I can prove, but you'll just have to take my word that when it comes to visual effects, we do things that makeup can't quite do, like take out varicose veins, Adam's apples, years of drug abuse, that sort of thing. I was first introduced to a more prurient version of this on one of the first movies that I ever worked on. We were doing a standard sort of wire removal thing, and there's this guy sort of leaning back doing this sort of Matrix sort of move. It isn't actually the Matrix. And normally this would be totally fine. The only complication, he had a kind of a shimmery fabric, and the camera was doing sort of weird things, but you can just paint out the wires. It isn't a big deal. The problem was this was not the wire rig that he was on. The wire rig went something like this. He had a wire, for whatever reason, attached to his butt, rode up between his legs. Evidently, this was quite exciting for him. And I was called upon to make him smooth as a Ken doll. Because of the weird camera moves, shimmery fabric, etc., they couldn't quite just get it with painting it out, so they're like, I need you to to first model and then make a three-dimensional version of this man's flaccid crotch and track it onto his body. For various reasons, it didn't actually make it into the movie, but I almost had the best business card of all time. But after that, I started asking around. I'm like, I cannot be the only. This is one of my first jobs. I'm like, I cannot be the only person in the history of the world to have ever had to do this before. I was not. In fact, pretty much everyone I talked to is just like, oh God, I thought I was the only one. I became like this clearinghouse for stories of guys that just like, I just have to tell someone I was stuck in a closet just looking at penises for like 3 months, and I still see them when I close my eyes, sort of thing. So I know a lot about this just because everyone needed to get the story off of their chest. So along the way, I learned a couple different terms. I found out that everybody had sort of their own little euphemisms for the subject, so I'll share some of my favorites with you. There is CMD, which is crotches of mass destruction. There's DDR, which is digital dick removal. This was what was used on Terminator 2 for Arnie. There's modesty mat, which I'll get into later. The one that I was actually introduced to, tent removal. And my personal favorite, and the one that I generally refer to this as, scrottoscoping. Now, as you can understand, there's a lot, as I've shown, there's a lot of work that goes into it, and normally you're not able to get releases for before and afters. So this is one of these things that's like nobody's really able to show all this amazing work that they've done. And you don't talk about it, obviously, but for you lovely people, I have been able to find 2 before and afters, so you get to see this, all right? First one, this is from Rollerball, a movie that was shot for a hard R and went for PG-13 later. Nipples make great tracking markers, turns out. Little side note, the director's wife was the production designer on this movie. She designed those tassels so it would fit in with the aesthetic of the movie. So there's that, but the next one I'm going to show you is, I think, the most amazing one that has ever been done. This is Eyes Wide Shut. Left version is the US release and right version is the European release, and by this point you can probably tell that there's a pretty significant difference between the two. So I'd like to point out sort of all the work that went into this, okay? What was shot was what's on the right screen. And then, very smart people using computer programs were able to reverse engineer the camera move to very, very extreme precision and get a motion control rig, which is a camera that is controlled by said computer, to move the exact same way to shoot people on green screen standing in the exact right spot with the exact right lighting, same props, same outfits, to cover up that. They were able to take the shadows that they cast on the ground. Occasionally they show up in, like, when they move in front of lights, little light wrap bloom to, you know, fake various things like that. I think they show up in some reflections. I've watched this rather a lot. But this last shot that's coming up here is actually the most amazing one in the entire thing. So I'll let this move to the next shot. All right, so look at the lady on the couch. They had to paint in her leg. The guys behind her had to be posed in there. They put in a bench right in front of the dude that they moved over, and they had to paint in the bookshelf in the background. That's a lot of work. They can't really show it on their reels. It's kind of depressing. This isn't just limited to humans, turns out. A lot of people, really masterful work. Neutered Air Bud in post. You have any idea how hard it is to paint in fur? And of course they can't get the before and after releases, so you know, I'm pretty sure the past 10, maybe 15 years, find a Disney movie that has animal genitalia. There really aren't any. And some of them, of course, you know, you want to get female dogs and female animals that, you know, it's not as prevalent. But they literally can't get them to do some of the same stunts. So sometimes it does need to be male animals, and people go in and hate their lives for a bit. But this isn't just live action animals, CG animals too. Now, okay, yeah, it's CG. You just don't model him with junk. That's fine. Well, they went a step above with Scooby-Doo. I introduced you to the term modesty mat before. That's actually coined on Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo has a specific lighting rig just for him. There is, because it's computer graphics and you can do all sorts of things that aren't in the real world, he has a negative light. It is a light that sucks in light attached to his crotch. He could be standing on the sun and his crotch would be forever in shadow. Scooby-Doo's crotch absorbs light. That's what I want you to take away from this talk. All right? So this happens on rather a lot of movies. I've tossed in 3 of these are fake, so nobody can come after me. And I've got a lot of stories. Just come find me afterwards. These ones from Beowulf and Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen, both rigged by the same guy. He told me such stories you would not believe. But just come find me afterwards. But the question that I keep running into is, well, why don't you just fix it on set if it's so much work in post? To this I reply with one image because it's a great image. This is from one of the Transformers movies. That's a lot of people on set. And just having those people wait around for even 5 minutes, that's a lot of money, and it stacks up. The biggest thing that you can do to cut down a budget on a movie, at least up front, is to just have a well-oiled machine on set. And when someone has a boner, it's just like, well, I could pay some dude like $1,000, $2,000 to remove it in post, or I can delay the entire production and screw everyone over. Another reason that this is an amazing picture is that down at the bottom you've got Michael Bay on a pink bicycle and Steven Spielberg on the handles and Michael Bay with his arm around Steven's waist. So I think that's amazing. What I want to impress on you is that this is a laborious process. There's no magic bullet to this. Some of you may have seen this, went around a little bit recently. It's an art project where you take a picture, and instead of printing out the picture, it prints out a text description of that picture. And everyone's like, oh my god, that's amazing, computers are so smart. Well, what it's actually doing, Mechanical Turk was mentioned a little bit before. Mechanical Turk is just basically, you can pay people to do a simple task. So what its developing process is to send that picture to someone on the internet, have them write it up, and then send it back and print it out. So no magic bullet as of yet. But the point I want to make is that it's coming, that there will be a lot of this in the future sort of automated. And this does seem a little bit out there, so I want to just lay down some of my arguments for this. Factor one is that we're having much better image capture nowadays. If you may recognize the Xbox Kinect on the left, which is a pretty amazing little thing. It gets depth information and can, given enough sort of input and enough frames, it can figure out, okay, roughly this is a human being and how the human being is moving and translate that into 3D space. The other one that you might not have seen is the Lytro, which is a cool little camera, just came out recently. This is a version 1, mind you, that this is the same picture that you can adjust in the computer. It captures depth information at the same time. And this is just a still camera, and it's like roughly this big, and there's one company making it. What about when they get video cameras? That's going to be interesting. Factor two is the need. So YouTube, Facebook, and other such sites have a lot of users uploading a lot of video, and yet the FCC restrictions are getting more strict as opposed to less, and it can be an enormous fine for even just the tiniest of slips. So, hands up if anybody has ever seen porn on YouTube. That's pretty amazing. The majority of people have not seen porn on YouTube, and it's really hard to find. I've looked. They do a remarkable job sanitizing it. Same with Facebook. It just doesn't stay up there real long, and given the sheer volume of video, they can't possibly have people going through all of it, right? Well, not so much. They do have sort of a squad of people going through. They've got some algorithms to try and sort through if it's like copyrighted content. So if it's straight up like vivid video porn or something like that, they'll flag that. But if it's just like someone shooting himself wanking off, like on chat roulette, what are you gonna do? They got people to do this. This is not tenable. It's cheaper. It's got 100% effective rate, close to 100%. However, it's got an enormous human toll. These people are not just looking at porn all day, they're looking at gore, they're looking at hate sites, they're looking at lots of stuff, and on average, they last about a year before they need severe counseling. YouTube actually won't let them work longer than a year, and you can try and outsource that out, but it's a matter of time until you get a massive lawsuit on your hands. So we have got the technology that's coming into place to give us more information about the scene at higher resolutions as video, as opposed to just a still. We have got a lot of very rich companies with a very real need to find a solution to this problem. The third factor is, well, there's also the police that are going to be very interested in this. This is a bunch of people from the London riots last year that they couldn't figure out who it was based off of security camera footage, and they just started tossing it out. If they had better algorithms, better capture, maybe it would be a done deal. The third factor, though, is the collapse of the visual effects industry. And this is not something I'm going to belabor too much. You can look it up yourself, but it's dying horribly. All of these movies up here, these are just the most clear-cut examples where the main vendor did pretty much all of the work. None of those companies exist anymore. On average, we lose 12 to 15 major effects houses a year. The Matrix went through 3 or 4. It was cursed. It was horrible. We don't have a union. We get shafted by pretty much everyone, and we're able to work anywhere, so it's outsourced massively. This is what it is. But you have a lot of people who have been doing this for rather a long time, have a lot of skills, looking around or trying to somehow make it work. And this is basically coming up with two things. Number one, we're starting to innovate much better and cooler things, and innovate ourselves out of jobs oftentimes, but these innovations often make their way into other things. So this is something that was actually done by Paul Debevic, who's local, he's amazing, where It's research where you're able to take these chrome spheres and shoot them and basically, given HDRI photos of them, figure out exactly how the lighting was for the scene. So you can take a CG model of someone's face, and the ones on the far right column are fully CG relit from the lighting that they got from those spheres. So that massively reduces the amount of lighting time. The point is, we're innovating ourselves out of jobs, and it's making it much easier to do more that looks better, faster, more automated. So that's one thing, is that we got more innovation. Number two, we've got people leaving work that are looking into other fields. So they do things like this. This was a 3D model that was constructed automatically based off of 15 photos. Someone took 15 photos of this little area, fed it into a program, and bam, it's out. This was a program called Photosynth, which was taken offline fairly recently, but I'm pretty sure it will be back. 15 photos. Video is 24 per second. Now imagine you have a whole lot of people wandering around with a whole lot of cameras. You can do a whole lot with that, right? So that's sort of the case that this will start happening. You've got all of the forces in place for this to happen sort of in the short term. Long term, and this is where I get a little woo-woo with this, it's like, oh, well, maybe this will happen, maybe this won't, but it's sort of interesting long-term ramifications, what could happen with this sort of technology once it gets ironed out. Version 1, of course, is going to be a little buggy. But Google Glasses, probably a lot of you have seen this. This is a nifty little proof of concept that they're trying to make at Google. It's AR glasses. It connects to the internet, sort of has GPS and everything, video, knows where you are, and is able to overlay stuff from the internet or whatever processing you want to run on it, whatever app you want to run on it, over your vision, right? So you could do things like real simple, okay, I've got to get a lot of work done, make it so I can't see anything except my computer, Or you run into someone on the street, oh, hey, I haven't seen you. What's your name? Facial recognition. Oh, hey, it's you. And we talked about that thing. And yeah, how's the kids? That sort of thing. But at the same time, you have a sort of double-edged sword. This is an actual screenshot from Google Maps of, I believe, somewhere in Switzerland, where the government just didn't want you to be able to see whatever's there. I think it's some sort of palace. I don't know. But imagine that this is something that is getting filtered through your actual eyesight. You're suddenly seeing government buildings that just appear plain, featureless, and suspiciously don't have any doors. These are the sort of things that could happen. You could start having, this is for those of you who don't know, V-chip. This is an initiative by the Clinton administration to basically come up with ways to censor out TV. For all of the parents who didn't actually want to do their jobs and watch what their kids are watching. Is just like, oh, well, I can lock it down so the kids don't see awful content. Didn't really work, but tech is advancing. V-chip for your eyes. Just little junior is not going to be able to see anybody that you don't like, don't agree with, anything that you deem prurient, like me. And you could just erase people that you disagree with, don't like, or just are in your way. Obviously, you'd still hear them and be able to bump into them, but hey, I understand they're doing amazing things with little ear implants now. So, thank you very much. It's Jason. Come find me after.